On April 19th, 2026, Shamar Elkins shot and killed 8 children in Shreveport, Louisiana. 7 of them were his own. The victims ranged in age from 3 to 11 years old. 2 women, the mothers of his children, were also shot. He fled, carjacked a vehicle, and was killed by police. Within 24 hours of the shooting, the dominant media frame was his mental health history. I want to talk about that frame because it is doing something, and what it's doing is harming our ability to prevent femicide and familicide. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this is Mondays with Melba, the Femicide edition. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to be able to see more series like these where I give you real world tips, real world stats so that you can hold power accountable. In February 2026, Elkins attempted suicide. He sought treatment at a VA hospital and he was held for approximately a week and a half before he got released. On April 5th, 2 weeks before the shooting, he called his mother's house and told his stepfather he was having dark thoughts, and then he abruptly ended the call saying, "Some people don't come back from their demons." He and his wife were separating. They were due in Shreveport Family Court on April 20th, the day after the shooting. His brother told reporters, "I don't want to lose my wife." That's what he said. Shreveport police said they were not aware of any prior domestic violence incidents. But hold up. Watch how these facts get framed depending on which lens you use. So through the mental health lens, a man with a documented history of depression and suicidal ideation, inadequately supported by the VA, spiraled and snapped. Through the gender-based violence lens, a man who believed his wife was his property, who faced losing her, who chose to destroy what he believed he was losing rather than let her leave. Those two framing have completely different policy implications, and only one of them is supported by research on femicide. So here's what the research actually says. Systematic review of femicide and mental health concluded that it is not possible to establish a causal link between femicide and mental disorders, and that sociocultural factors like gender entitlement, coercive control, and the belief that women are possessions are the primary drivers. So let me say that again and louder for the people in the back. The research does not support mental illness as a primary driver of femicide. Full stop, period, end of story. That's that. The majority of men who kill their partners and families do not have a diagnosable mental illness. And the majority of people with serious mental illnesses are not violent. They are more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. I mean, think about the people in this country who have bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. They take their meds, they go to work, they go on about their business every single day. They're not splashed on the front pages having killed their partners and their families. So the mental health frame is not neutral because it shifts the question from why did he believe that he had the right to kill her to why didn't someone get him help? It moves that accountability from the perpetrator and the cultural systems that produced him to the healthcare system and the people around him. And that gives everybody else an exit, peace out from the harder conversation. So I want to stay for a minute with Elkins' own words and let him breathe because they are telling. He did not say, "I'm in crisis." He did not say, "I need help." He said, "I don't want to lose my wife." That right there, that's possession language. That's the language of someone who understands his wife as something he owns, something that could be taken from him. When men who use that language face separation, the research shows elevated lethality risk. Not because of mental illness, but because of the belief system hovering underneath that language. That wasn't the VA's fault. They didn't create that belief. The mental health system did not create that belief. It was there before the depression. It'll be there after treatment. And until we name it as the primary driver, we will keep funding mental health resources as femicide prevention, and then we're going to keep burying children and their mamas. So the mental health frame does more work for the defense than it does for the victim. It creates pathways to defenses and mitigating factors that reduce accountability. It moves cases from premeditation to heat of passion, and it reduces sentences, and then it generates sympathy. Not for the victim and the family and the folks she left behind. No, sympathy for the perpetrator. And as a former prosecutor, as a former domestic violence prosecutor, and as a survivor of domestic violence, I can tell you, when we adopt that mental health frame culturally before a case even gets in the courtroom, we're already prejudging the legal outcome. The Shreveport DA's office called this what it was: domestic violence. 8 children, 2 mothers, a man who didn't want to lose his wife. That's the story. And that is where the accountability belongs. So next week, we're going to dive into the warning signs. And we're going to talk about the cases where there aren't any, and what that means for how we talk about prevention. Subscribe, sound off in the comments, and tell me what you want to understand about this. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the resident Legal Diva. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep demanding justice. Take care.